This is the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show. I'm Haley Stasiak with Jordan Ham. We are in week 3 action for some schools, week 4 action for other schools. I know that's kind of a blurry line when we refer to this. We refer to it as week 0. It's now week 3. That's where we're looking at it.
You knew better than I did. So.
Got a lot in this show this week. Dave Zorn from CAF Radio News and Sports Director. He's going to talk about some of the high schools up in northern Arizona with us. We've got Lamar Early coming on, Millennium football head coach, and Matt Johnson, Ironwood Ridge head coach. So we're kind of reaching all over the state to get some high school football talk here this week. Let's jump into some games to run down this week. Gilbert, Goldwater, we're starting there. When I was looking at this matchup, Goldwater really likes to run the ball. They've got senior Rashid Sterling, who's leading the charge there, 317 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns, and then sophomore Ernest Greenwood and Marquise Corley are helping the cause there as well. Gilbert's through the air. So you've got two very different offenses here. Will Plummer is a dual threat quarterback. He's got 180 rushing yards. He leads the Tigers with rushing yards there, and he's got 706 passing yards. His go-to guy is Anthony Elzy deep. So this is a good matchup, I think.
Yeah, it's another year for Gilbert with a Plummer under center. Older brother Jack is now at Purdue, and Will Plummer has come in and just, thrown all over defenses early. I think the thing that Goldwater fans should be excited about is a lot of these guys that you named, and a lot of them that are top statistical guys, are sophomores. They have a very young team, but they're 2-0 on the year, but a lot of growth there for over the next couple of years. So certainly exciting to kind of look at these two programs, and same goes for Gilbert. Derek Zellner's come in and done a really nice job over the past couple of years helping build this program up, because when he took over, they were one of the lesser teams in 6A, and they don't have many numbers, but they get a lot of high quality kids with really good GPAs. The academics, they really push that, and that was one thing that Coach Zellner talked to me about going into last offseason, was how many guys they don't have to worry about grades. They, the average was like a 3.75 GPA or something like that. Like, these guys were really overachieving.
Good in the classroom.
Yeah, so two programs that I think are really trying to come on the up and up, and they're definitely equipped to do that. I was taking a look also at Gilbert's schedule the next couple of weeks, and you're going to get a pretty good idea of where they stand, because you have Goldwater at Sunrise Mountain, a 1-2 Sunrise Mountain, but a good team. Campo Verde, who's 3-0, Williams Field, at Castile, Higley. Wow. And then they end the year at Maricopa.
Battle tested there.
So it's not gonna be an easy group. And again, it's that Southeast Valley in 5A is really tough. But I think that Gilbert has plenty of really good ball players.
Cienega Centennial, again, this week as every week, that Centennial run game. Gotta watch out for it there for sure. Cienega, you've got Terrell Hayward. I'm watching him for Cienega specifically. I know that's a name we tossed around with Cienega a lot as well. What are your keys to this matchup? Who do you think is going to come out with this?
You did kind of preface it. It's a tale of two really good athletes that I think kind of headline this. Tyree Walker, the running back for Centennial, and Terrell Hayward, who's one of the most versatile playmakers that you'll see, and just continues to get it done for Pat Nugent. It's going to be, I think, points are going to be a premium, especially on Cienega's side, because Centennial just hasn't given up points this year. Right. They've given up 26, 19 to a really good Castile offense, and then 7 to Bishop Gorman, who is a national power. I know that Justin Emerson last week said that they're a little bit down this year, but when you can hold that team to 7 points, and it was really like a garbage time. I don't want to call it garbage time, but super late in the game. They were very close to shutting out Bishop Gorman. So Cienega's going to have to get creative, because this defense lost some key members from last year's state championship team, but they have come to play this year.
How about Valley Christian, Arizona Lutheran? These are two 2-0 teams, smaller schools. Valley Christian's got a new coach. Arizona Lutheran has experience returning. They can run the ball well. Keeping an eye on Brandon Garcia out of the backfield. They can get it done through the air as well. But looking at Valley Christian's new coach, he left a job or turned down a job at Valley Christian, which is a powerhouse in Colorado.
Yeah.
And now he's here at Valley Christian coaching a school that does have some talent there in the Chandler area. It's just a smaller group.
Yeah, it's a smaller school, but Jeff Rutledge was the former coach there, and he definitely got the most out of his players. But I think what you see out of Kirk Sundberg is he brings that kind of big program mentality to Valley Christian. Like you said, he coached over at Valor Christian in Colorado. That's where the McCaffreys played. I think that's the big headline name. But one of the top programs in Colorado. He comes to Arizona. They're off to a hot start. And then for Arizona Lutheran, like you said, there are plenty of athletes on this team. But the guy I'm really looking at is Jamie Hine. He's been kind of the top receiver in that group and had two really strong games to start. So two smaller schools going head to head, but should be a really fun game.
Couple other matchups to watch this week. Perry O'Connor, which we're going to touch on later in the show. That's the game I'm going to be going out to. And then Thatcher Safford. They're literally miles apart. We took a trip over to east part of the state last fall and got to see kind of just exactly how close those two schools are, and they are very close. So those are going to be two pretty good matchups as well.
And a couple of really big out-of-state games. Arizona continues to play those out-of-state opponents. Mountain Point's playing Bingham, which is the top program in Utah. Pinnacle is playing Sarah from California. Spencer Rattler should be back.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, but they're well equipped if he's not quite ready to go with J.D. Johnson. I think in the case of Johnson, he could probably, I think it's fair to say probably like 90% of the programs in the state, he could probably step in and be the starter if he wanted to, but stuck with Pinnacle, backed up Spencer, and has shown what he can do. And certainly once Spencer has moved on to Oklahoma, they'll be well set at the quarterback position. But a couple of teams really continuing to push and play some really good out-of-state opponents. And those aren't the only two. There are quite a few others, but as this early season progresses, they're getting those out of the way before conference play. Before
we send it to break, we talk about how it's kind of the early season. We're kind of reaching that point where can't really refer to it as the early season anymore. What are your takeaways from these first 4 weeks of play?
I think that it's kind of the top groups have kind of been what we thought they were going to be. But there certainly have been some really good programs that I think have kind of snuck under the radar. No one really knew what Notre Dame was going to be because they lost so many seniors. Turns out they've had some pretty talented guys backing them up, and obviously returned one of the top players in the state and the country in Jake Smith. So they're off to a hot start. That's been, I don't want to call it a surprise, but that was kind of one of the programs that I was like, I'm not quite sure what we're going to see here, but they've come out swinging. So, and then there have just been a couple of really good programs that just have had some really tough schedules to begin with. And what jumps to mind is Horizon and Desert Mountain. Horizon's played every team tough so far.
Yeah.
And it's been some top 5A and big school teams. They have the talent. I get the feeling they could make the playoffs as a mid to lower seed that no team wants to play come November, because they have they're really tough in the trenches. Nash Giffen is a really good running back, and how they use those quarterbacks and to play to their strengths, it's probably pretty tough to game plan. They've just had a gauntlet to start this year, and there are going to be some other teams that we're both really high on and that have are currently undefeated or have some solid records that are going to go through those same stretches at the end of the year. So I think if I'm a team, I'd rather get through
it done.
Through early and make sure you're healthy and then you're battle tested for the postseason. So there's a lot of interesting storylines as we kind of transition to the middle.
Midpoint.
Yeah, it's right before let's completely focus on the postseason, but also hey, who are all the new people and that sort of thing. So it's kind of that sweet spot of straight up regular season football.
Right, and I'm still kind of looking at how all these new head coaches are doing as well. Hamilton with Mike Zadebski, Chaparral with Brent Barnes, just all of these different high schools that are adjusting. Brophy with John Kitna, kind of adjusting to that new scheme as we hit that midpoint of the season, how these teams really set their stride.
And the other thing, we're a couple of weeks away from transfers who had to sit out 5 games being eligible.
Yep.
So I have a feeling some rosters are going to be changing here pretty soon, and the momentum's going to shift their way a little bit.
Good stuff. Dave Zorn is up next, CAF Radio News and Sports Director. He'll be joining us. Keep it right here on the Friday Night 360 AZ Preview Show.